cool part about tonight's talk, one of the things I'm most excited about is it's going to be a nice preview for those of you who are either in or planning to join the Good Life Playbook marriage program that Miko and I are running. This is going to be a nice preview for a much more in-depth conversation we're going to have there. And the feedback we'll be able to do over the course of a month when we release that video. It's going to be really exciting. So this will be a nice dry run. It'll also be an opportunity for me, in my marketing life, I'm always preaching about giving away more stuff than I charge for. And this gives me an opportunity to give something that, is a part of a paid program, but for those of you that may not have the resources available to do that, you'll get this part of the discussion completely for free. And you'll get to have what our VIPs will have in that program, which is live monthly conversation. The slight difference there is they will be able to talk to me versus having to write me comments, because we do those using Hangouts. So let me find the Good Life Playbook. Here it is. This thing is not loading quickly. I'll give it that. I will give it that. All right, so, and of course it's off the screen. You see, this is why we can't just get along. Why can't we just do that? This is weird. It's like looks like the CSS on this website is not actually formatted properly. So I'm gonna have to blow it up, of course, because they're ridiculous. Here we go. Finally, that's gonna start a video, so let's shut that off. And now let's jump into the YouTube video. I'll put the link on Facebook as well for when we're getting started. But this will give a chance for everyone to kind of get logged in. There we go. All right, so it's good on YouTube. Let's go over to Facebook now. Now I can minimize that, and we're in good shape. And I can leave it in a comment here. Peter Cole says, glad to be here for this. How are you doing tonight? I'm doing well, Peter Cole. It's good to see you, my friend. Thank you for joining us on Facebook Live. All right. I'm going to drop a link here for everybody to have access to. What am I calling this? Good Life Playbook Marriage Program. There's no need to click on this link right now, Facebook folks. YouTube works a little bit differently, so I have to really mention this. But there's no need to click the link right away, Facebook family. I'm just putting it there so you'll have access to it when we're finished talking, because I know a lot of you are going to be excited to get into that program, and I want to make it available. Now, all of that said, let's jump into why we're here tonight. The beautiful part about this is those who aren't watching this live, watching it after the fact, you'll have all of the silliness edited out. One of the things the YouTube live streaming app really needs to get on board with is connecting what you're doing here into your YouTube account so I can manipulate it on the back end and give people proper links and things of that nature. Right now it just goes straight to streaming on your phone, which is fine, but it means I can't do any manipulation. I can't send it out to people in a convenient way. So hopefully YouTube will get their act together as far as that's concerned. That said, hello family. You got blankets, man? All right, mommy's got blankets. Did mommy have fun on her date? Her girlfriend going out with her girls?
Yes, I had an excellent time.
You did? You didn't meet up with Parnell while you're out there, did you? Parnell is her secret lover that she hides from me. All jokes aside, Parnell was a guy that liked my wife when I was dating her, and she wasn't having it because she was having me. What's up, Jolly? How you doing, my friend? What?
I said, you guys, you were 10 years later.
I was 10 years after Parnell. You still had pictures of him. Parnell was going to come up a lot. You still had pictures of him in your memento box.
That was from high school.
You shouldn't have still had the pictures. That's what I'm saying. Did I have any pictures of the girls that I was hanging out with in high school?
No, but you talk about
No.
them all the time.
Which ones?
Christy and
I don't talk, man. Please. See? Happy marriage, y'all. What did Jolly say? Hunt down Parnell and stomp him. Hey, Andre, long time no see, my friend. So anyway, we are here. And Peter Cole says he loves the rawness. So yes, very much Facebook and YouTube. One of the things I do almost on purpose, and I don't really have to because it comes naturally, is I keep my stuff natural. I don't do a lot of editing because I don't believe in that. I just think there's not to say I don't believe in it, because people who do it, it's fine. It's just not, for me, it's not authentic. If what I'm doing in a conversation like this is highly edited with crazy jump cuts and stuff, like, I want you all to see our lives. Like, part of this program, part of the reason why we do what we do is I want you to see the playfulness. My wife and I have been joking about Parnell for 15 years. You know, and of course I'm not jealous or anything stupid like that. It's a joke and it's fun. Like, one of the main things you're going to see when I talk about it on YouTube, when I drop it on Facebook, and when we get into the Good Life Playbook marriage program, one of the things I'm going to drive home extremely hard when we get, because we have sections. Like, right now the group is focused on developing the individual, developing you, your soul, your psyche, getting you in the best shape you can possibly be in, spiritually, emotionally, and mentally, and even physically. We'll probably have some pieces about physical health as well. Getting you in the best shape you can be in, so that when you get into a relationship with someone else, you're not carrying a bunch of baggage with you. You're not carrying a bunch of, I don't really know myself with you. But we will get into how to find your mate and how to know if she or he is the one. I have a whole video laid out for is how do I know if he or she is the one, right? And it's going to be me punching the myths that the world has been taught for the last, I don't know how many centuries, about how love really works. And the sad part of it is you've been lied to. And I'm not saying that to be sensationalistic. It's the absolute truth. The one thing I'll say to make sure it's not sensationalistic is I don't think you've been, in most cases, intentionally lied to. Like, Hollywood and the media hype things up because it helps sell products. You know, I've taught people in my marketing classes. One thing you may not know is the reason why certain ads show scantily clad women is because that raises testosterone levels in men. Men with raised testosterone levels at any given time will make impulse purchases. So they're taking advantage of your biology to sell you things, right? So yeah, watching movies and TV shows and the way that they portray romance, it's very fake. It's not the reality, right? This idea you're going to fall in love, and it's this big romantic Romeo and Juliet. Like, Romeo and Juliet's not a love story. It's a story about two psychotic children that get like 12 or 10 or however many people it is killed because they want to have a one night of passion. It's not a love story. And we've been perpetuating that nonsense forever. In fact, I think when Shakespeare wrote it, he probably intended it to be a tragedy, just to say this is an exacerbated, exaggerated version of the crazy that goes on. You know, the stuff you see in reality TV today is no different. But why we made this program is we had a lot of mentorship leading up to our marriage, and a lot of mentorship while we've been in our marriage, and a lot of learning while we've experimented and figured out what works for us. And one of the things we will drive home very heavily is that friendship matters. That's one of the reasons why we're having this talk tonight about the 5 love languages. Okay? Understanding how to form friendships, you know, beyond the romance and the butterflies and the honeymoon and all that crap you watch on TV. And I don't want to call it crap because those things are important, but they're very short. That romantic view of, you know, like we watch Fate of the Furious. You're going to drive the cars and blow up the bad guys and then drive home with the girl. That's not really how it goes down in real life. And we've been sold that for a very long time. And we want what we do here on YouTube and Facebook and what we do in the marriage program, the Good Life Playbook, is dispel the myths. It's the same thing. Like, we're going to launch, right now we're working on the Good Life Playbook for marriage. We're going to launch a Good Life Playbook for careers. And like, I just shot a video today that you all will see on Monday. It'll come out on YouTube first and then on Facebook. I'm still working on getting my Facebook act together. Because Facebook makes it doesn't make it quite as streamlined as YouTube does right now. I just shot a video for college grads, which basically answers the question, what should I do with my life now that I'm done with college? And it's going to come out Monday, 11:30. It's when the Daily Bravo drops. Usually it's every day at 11:30. Sometimes I play with the times just to experiment. But it's usually somewhere in the late morning to early afternoon. But right now it's 11:30. And it's going to dispel some of the myths. Unfortunately, it's going to fly in the face of some of what your parents probably taught you, which wasn't necessarily wrong, but it may not have been the most optimal advice to get you to where you want to be and where they even want your life to be. So, that said, that drives home the purpose of what we're doing here, is to help you build relationships that are built to last. Yes, healthiness is great. Happiness is great. Happiness is a choice. Don't let anyone else tell you different. Circumstances will never make you happy. I'll give you an example. Many, many years ago, I think this is back in the 1800s, the big diamond tycoons were trying to beat each other out, going and finding, diamond mines all over the world. And the person at the time that won that battle, I can't remember if it was De Beers or which diamond company it was, but they basically beat out the other diamond companies, and then they were the richest, jewelers in the world, to the tune of billions of dollars, which was probably like trillions in today's money. And after he won the battle, on the voyage home, he jumped off his boat and killed himself. Does that sound like a happy guy? His circumstances were better probably than anyone who had been living at that time, other than probably, depending on how late in the 1800s that was, you probably had, John D. Rockefeller doing his thing. But how could somebody with billions and billions of dollars kill themselves? Because happiness is not based on your circumstance. Happiness is a byproduct of how you react and how you perceive your circumstances. We're gonna have some conversations about that as well in the different Good Life Playbook programs that we have. Okay, so tonight's discussion talking about understanding love languages, and yes, I'm pulling from the 5 Love Languages book. It's actually a pretty good book. It's not the best thing I've ever read in the history of the world, but it's adequate. I think the main thing it drives home is having empathy and basically understanding yourself, understanding your loved ones. And this could be romantic relationships, marriages, boyfriend, girlfriend, but it also could be family. Like, I had to understand my family's love language to be able to relate to them better. And that's part of the reason why I focus so much on talking about personality types, because the better, Sun Tzu said it best, and this is one of the philosophies of how I run my company, how I run my life. Sun Tzu said, if you know yourself and you know your enemy, you'll never be endangered in 100 encounters. All right, so let me flip that for 2017, because most of us don't have enemies like a war general, unless you're a military person. If you know yourself, and I call it being violently self-aware, that's what I call that. Not violent like hurting people, but violent, intense. If you are violently familiar with yourself and you're violently familiar with the challenges and problems you are working to overcome and what makes them what they are, you're in no danger of ever losing. So we help you understand these things about yourself. The book really drives home understanding and empathy, which are 2 of the biggest traits of being able to build successful relationships. Again, this isn't just about romantic relationships. Obviously, the Good Life Playbook marriage program is about helping you build relationships that lead to good marriages, or helping you take a marriage and make it better, or maybe you have a marriage that's on the brink of failure. How do we get in and actually work together to be a part of you fixing it? I mean, we can't fix it for you. This isn't a counseling program by any stretch. And some people may need counseling, and that's okay. It's totally fine. I've been through counseling before in my life. In fact, when I was in college, I was in ministry at my church, and it was a requirement at the church that I was working at. As a minister, even if I wasn't on the payroll, I was a volunteer, you had to go through spiritual/psychiatric counseling, just like you would if you went to see a psychiatrist. It was amazing. It was great. I don't know why everybody doesn't do it. And everyone doesn't do it because there's a stigma and you're crazy. Why are you going to see it? We make fun of people that admit their vulnerabilities, which is just absolutely ridiculous. In my opinion, the people that go and seek out help are some of the bravest people on the planet, because they're self-aware. They know they need help, and then they go get it. Simple as that. I have a lot of respect for people that do that. But the point is, wherever you are on that spectrum, working with you as a team to build a valuable, healthy, happy, long-term relationship is the goal. Okay, so this idea of the 5 love languages, I don't know if there's more than 5, but basically you have these 5 things: words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, physical touch. I'll say that again in case you want to write it down. Words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and touch are what, Gary Chapman identifies as the 5 love languages. And the first goal here is to understand which one, and granted, I think to some degree, just like with personality types, and I've had people argue with me, that's okay, I'm not saying I'm right. I think to some degree, we appreciate all 5. What this book works really hard to do, and I think does a decent job of it, is it helps you understand which one you prefer the most, or which 2, which 3 you prefer the most. Okay? Makes sense? It's not pigeonholing you. It's not saying, well, if you love words of affirmation, then you can't like quality time. It's ridiculous. You probably like both. You just are going to have a preference. You're probably going to have a stronger preference towards one of them more than the rest. And then the rest fall into place on the pecking order. And so the book goes into a lot of detail describing what those things are. I'll give kind of a brief overview of what it is here. But the bottom line is that knowing which one suits you best is going to set you up for success in a relationship, because when you know that about you, you can convey that to the people who are in your life, whether it's a wife, it's a girlfriend, it's a brother, it's a sister, it's a mom, it's a dad, or just your friends. When you know what makes you happy in this regard and brings you joy and lifts you up, then you know how to communicate that to the people around you. And then hopefully, if they're good friends, family, and otherwise, they will acquiesce to that and make sure that they're consistently doing that for you. Okay? The next piece is, when you're talking about relationships, it's imperative that you also know the love languages of the other people that are in your life. Again, whether it's a romantic relationship, a friend, a family member, whatever. Specifically when it comes to dating and marriage, you got to know you and you have to know them. Because, you know, what I've always said, and it's slightly different than what you hear, is people say relationships are 50-50. Relationships are 50-50. And I say, no, relationships are 100-100. It's me, to the best of my ability, giving everything I can to that woman that you just saw come in and we were laughing and joking about her fake man on the side that we always joke about. Like when she goes out with her girls, always like, did you go out? Did you meet this guy named Parnell? I said, did you meet Parnell tonight? She always rolls her eyes. And it's a fun thing that we do. We're playful like that because we're best friends. And so, of course, I know there's Parnell, whatever. I know it's not real. It's just a joke. But when you understand you and you understand the other person in your life, then you're heading somewhere. You're heading in a good direction. And when you have 100-100, giving everything I can to make sure that she's happy, especially when, in our case, our preferred love languages are different. So that means I have to get outside of myself. And I'm going to tell you a story to illustrate this, okay? I'm going to tell you a wonderful, hilarious story where I get to be the bad guy to illustrate the point. But it's me doing everything I can to make sure that I'm speaking to her in her love language, not mine, hers, because that's how she receives love. And then it's the responsibility's on her to speak to me in my love language. That's how you get to the win-win. Now, is it always 100-100? No, 100-100 is the goal. In a relationship, you're never always going to be perfect. Sometimes it's going to be 80. Sometimes it's going to be 30. Especially, like I said, Miko and I's love languages are very different. So, and this is the thing you have to be aware of. You are going to approach people until you learn how to do what I'm teaching here. You are almost always, unless you've been trained in this and you're conscious of it, you're almost always going to approach people with your love language, the way that you like to be appreciated. And that's a challenge. It's great if you're dealing with someone whose love language is the same as yours. You'll come up short if their love language is different. So let's go back over the list here. Words of affirmation. And feel free, everybody, to leave questions in the comment section here as I'm talking. Facebook, it gets a little weird. I constantly have to refresh the page because it doesn't keep a tally of comments live because I'm on a laptop instead of because I'm using my phone to do YouTube. Maybe one day I should switch that up because YouTube makes it easier to do comments on the computer. Peter Cole says, Elizabeth Shoemaker says, the 5 love languages for singles is good and directly relates to how they play out in everyday close relationships. Absolutely. So, again, words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, physical touch. Now, what I want you all to do in the comment section, everybody who's watching this, and if you have questions, we will get to them tonight once I'm finished running my mouth. I won't talk too long. I'm going to tell this story, and then I'll get off the stage and let you all ask questions. Hey, Stephen, how you doing? Hey, Luz, how you doing? And hey, I'm Peter Cole. Peter Cole's on YouTube as well. He switched over from Facebook. Excellent. So, what I want you to do in the comment section on Facebook or YouTube, what is your love language? Do you know it out of the ones that I listed? So words. Let's give a brief description. Words of affirmation are like words of encouragement. Hey, like this is something I do with Miko all the time. She cooks a lot. She's a chef and a baker, right? I go out of my way whenever she makes dinner for the family, which is often, to say, hey, babe, thank you so much for making dinner tonight. Because that's really an important thing for me. At the older age of my adolescence, both my parents worked. After Dad left the Army, Mom went to work. And so I spent a lot of time at home alone, and I didn't know how to cook, so I was eating cereal and Eggo waffles. So having a wife that makes me dinner almost every day, that's huge for me. So I go out of my way, even though for her, she's like, I get it, you're welcome, you don't have to thank me all the time. But I do it on purpose because I want her to understand that it's a bigger deal than she makes it to me. That says a lot to me, right? Because I didn't have that a lot growing up. The older, I had it more when I was a child. My dad was still in the military. But as I got older, it just wasn't a reality all the time. I ate a lot of Wendy's too. So, words of affirmation. Hey, babe, thank you so much. You making dinner for me tonight means so much to me. Thank you. Or you did a really great job planning our son's birthday party. Right? Quality time. Now, quality time is not you both sitting and watching a movie while you're flipping through your phone. It's not going to the movies and sitting quietly together. Brittany says she thinks hers is quality time. Excellent. Quality time is, so when my wife and I go out to dinner, when we go out on dates, we sometimes go to the movies, but we always go to dinner on a date, and I don't turn my phone off because we have kids, and someone has to contact us, that's watching our kids, but I put my phone away. My phone does not come out during dinner with my wife. We talk. What's going on in your life? Because we have a lot of kids and we both stay very busy. Her with being a full-time mom, which is the hardest job on the planet. Hats off to anybody that does that, man or woman. Me with my business, there's a lot of times ships passing in the night. And so when we have that quality time, it's time to, hey, how was your week? What was going on? I didn't even get to talk to you last night because I had a meeting that ran late with one of my mentors. And by the time I got home, you and all the kids were asleep. What's going on? Oh, did you hear so-and-so? No. And that's quality time, right? Not sitting on the couch watching a movie together. It's not that that's not quality, but quality time where you're in the moment with the other person, communicating, okay? Receiving gifts, very simple. I will tell you that my grandmother, who's also the primary person who raised me, she loves giving gifts. That's her jam, is getting gifts, okay? Acts of service, doing things for other people. And physical touch. All the stuff's pretty self-explanatory. So what I want you to do in the comments section now, what do you think based on what we talked about tonight, and you can read the book for more detail if you still are unsure, but what do you think your love language is? I want to see that in the comments section, and then we'll talk about it. I'm going to go through the comments here and see if I missed any questions while you all do that. All right, so Lou says, as an ENTJ, now this YouTube is being weird. Or my browser, I should say, is being weird. Okay, as an ENTJ, when I was dating an INFJ, it was the most traumatic, depressing, hard, and most life-growing opening experience ever. Ha ha, worth it. There are some big hurdles to overcome with these. So here is what I will caution everybody against. Because I do a lot of personality discussions. I don't really call it teaching so much because I'm not a guru, okay? I don't have a psychology background. I study it a lot. I read a lot about it. What I want to caution everybody about when it comes to relationships is pigeonholing people. I'm an ENTJ and this person is an ISF whatever. ISFP and those relationships they're a struggle. Maybe not. It may just be that you met an INFJ that's very challenging because they have other character flaws that are not related to their personality type. Like someone being a psychopath is just a psychopath. It doesn't matter what their personality type is. They're not going to be a nicer version of a psychopath. Right? Someone being a sociopath, someone being an extreme narcissist is not just driven by personality type. Anybody at any time can be those things. And sure, I'm sure there's studies that show certain personality types have a tendency towards things, but that's still just a tendency. I want to caution you against labeling an entire personality type based on an experience with one individual, because you may just be dealing with a person that may have asocial or antisocial disorders, social disorders, may have abuse in their life, may have things that make them a hard person to deal with because they've had a lot of hurt. And if you abuse anybody, I don't care what their personality type is, if you abuse them very badly, they're going to have issues they need to work through, regardless of personality type. So I want to make sure you're careful because you can miss out. I have INFJs in my life. They're amazing people, and they make me better for the role that they play in my life, okay? So you definitely want to be careful with that. Let's see. All right. Brittany says she thinks her love language is quality time. Okay, Brittany, you can feel free to elaborate on that, about why you think that, if you like. No obligation there. Words of affirmation, says Landon. Touch is nice too, though. Excellent. Words of affirmation, says Peter Cole. Jolly Maid says, I know mine is more quality time with physical touch. Fatima says, I got 2, I think. Quality time and words of affirmation. Yeah, so chances are we have all of them to some degree. I can tell you, receiving gifts, not mine. That's probably, I'm looking at the list. Receiving gifts is probably, I don't think that's mine at all. Like if someone gives me a gift, I'm very appreciative. I'm very grateful, but it's not my love language. Like it's not how, if you want to get through to me and convey love to me, giving me a gift, like a tangible material gift, like you could argue that if the gift is somehow a sentimental thing that you're doing for me, that's a little bit different. But the story I'm going to tell you here is going to hilariously illustrate why I'm not a gift giving dude. But everything else, I'd say to a small degree, plays a factor, at least to a small degree. So Jess Hand says, in a leader, quality time, is that leader? Quality time has become more and more special to me. I also think physical touch is my second. For some reason, though, I like to show love through gifts. Totally cool. Andre says compliments, which would be words of affirmation. And Steven says, I think mine may be listening and gifts. Cool. So Kimberly Seabrook says, I just got here, so have I missed a lot? Nope, you haven't missed a lot. It took me 10 minutes just to get the show to act properly. But don't worry, all of this will be uploaded into Facebook and YouTube when it's all said and done. So don't worry about it at all. It's totally fine. If you missed a little bit, you can go back and watch the rest. Oh, long distance relationship, LDR. Got it. Peachy Clean, long time. Good to see you. Says, my love language is pitch in wish household chores. Is that a language? I've been married 17 years. Okay, I get it. So acts of service is probably yours, I would say. Are the personality types correlated to the 5 I don't know. I haven't done any studies. I haven't looked up any studies to see if there's any strong enough correlations. I would say I doubt it, but I could be wrong. So like I said, Miko and I have different primary love languages. Let me tell you this story. Let me read this comment, then I'll tell you the story. Lou says, or Louis, I think is how you say that. I think mine is physical touch. How do people get their love language? Does it grow out of your childhood with experiences, with your parents, or society? I think a lot of factors come into play. I think your personality type will have some bearing on it. I think more likely, though, your life experience is what's going to help shape the things that you like and the things that you prefer. for me, I know a lot of my love language desires come from things that I didn't have growing up, right? So mine was more, I want this because it's something that when I do get it, it makes me feel amazing, but it's something I got in very short supply, at least from the mother factors in my life. Okay, my dad, I think that's a great example because my mother and my grandmother weren't very giving with my love language, but my dad was huge with it. And so I think getting it from my dad made me crave that, and then not so much having it from my mother and grandmother who raised me made me feel like I was missing out. And so I wanted more of that as I got older from a spouse because that was something that was kind of missing. So we'll get into mine in a second here. Let's tell the story. Love language, when love languages go wrong. So at this point in our lives, I will say I think I had been married 4 years. Right around 4 years. I was shortly, it wasn't long. Like I was home from combat. I was now, kind of a civilian. I was still in the military, but I was working as a civilian. And my wife, as she's getting to know me, because one of the beautiful things of marriage is everything gets better with time. Like I always hear people say, I don't want to date a friend because that would be awkward. Well, what do you think you're going to do for the next 50 to 70 years that you're married? Just touch each other and be physical? That's insane. Like you want someone that's your friend to be your lifelong partner, right? Or people that say, like people that are, and I don't want to criticize anybody's lifestyle, but people that feel like they need a heavy dose of promiscuity to feel fulfilled. I'm like, the thing you don't understand is that sex actually gets better when intimacy grows. The closer you get to somebody, the better that gets. It's not better when you're jumping from place to place to place to place, because if you have 100 partners, there's no intimacy individually with any of those folks. So you can't get to those higher levels of pleasure, right? Anyway, so love language gone wrong. We're still getting to know each other. We're only 4 years into a marriage, which is it's no time at all. I'd say even at 15 years, we're in our 15th year. That's not even a ton of time. But here's how this went down. Miko learns about me that on my birthday, because in my adult life, I didn't celebrate a lot of my birthdays because I was either in college and stuff was going on, or I was in the Army. Like I remember one year in the Army, I was training during my birthday, and I didn't even know it was my birthday until my boy, my main man. I had a lot of really close friends in the Army, and this dude that I worked with he was one of my. I had like an inner circle of friends, and he was one of that group. It was my buddy Chris. He's like, "Hey B, isn't today your birthday?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah," and I wasn't married at that time, so. Birthdays for me aren't a big deal. Like I said, I'm not giving gifts. Isn't my love language. Ceremonial is not my thing. So I don't really care about my birthday. But what I started doing as a civilian, because I spent so much time away from the house, was on my birthday, I just want to be left alone. That's my one introverted day of the year, I used to say, because I'm a very extroverted person. This is the one day of the year I get to keep my basketball shorts on. I get my plastic cup with Kool-Aid or whatever I'm drinking and my snacks, and I play at the time Xbox 360. Nobody bother me because it's my birthday. I just want to be. You don't even have to cook me a cake or a dinner or sing me happy birthday. Just let me chill and not have any responsibilities. So Miko decides one fateful birthday to do something a little different. So she comes in to the room. I'm jamming on Xbox, and I'm having a ball. She's like, "Hey, babe." I said, "What's up?" She's like, "Your aunt and uncle," and that's TT and Bill. She's like, "Your aunt and uncle have a gift for you for your birthday." I said, "That's cool. Tell them I said thank you." She's like, No. They want to give it to you." I said, "Well, when are they coming over?" And she was like, "Well, they're not coming here. We got to go there." And now my aunt and uncle at the time lived about 30 minutes from where I live. I was like, "I'm not going out there." I said, "Let me get this straight. It's my birthday, and I got to drive to someone else's house on my birthday to get somebody's gift. Like, the gift can't be that amazing that you're about to make me put on pants and stop drinking Kool-Aid out of my plastic cup and pull me away from whatever game I was playing on Xbox 360 at the time. It's probably Rainbow Six because that was a while back. Like, that's not happening. I'm not. No. Why? And I'm I'm an ENTJ. We talk about personality types a lot. We are totally cool with hurting people's feelings if it means doing what we think is the right thing. Like, they'll just be upset. They'd be really upset if you didn't come. I said, well, they're just gonna be upset then because I'm not coming. It's not happening. Now, 99.9 times out of 100, I'm a very even keel, easygoing guy. I don't raise my voice. I very rarely get angry to the point of getting belligerent. Miko is a very stubborn person. Very persistent. Come on, we got to do this. Your aunt and uncle are going to be upset. I was like, I don't care. Like, then you go get the gift. And she basically guilt trips me into doing it, which I hate as well. I hate guilt trips. So I'm like, all right, fine. Let's get in the car and get down there. And so I'm pissed. We're just driving to my aunt and uncle's house. And I should be somewhat grateful that there's people in my life that love me enough to do something for me. But it's my birthday. I'm not trying to drive to your house to get my gift. That's stupid. So I get there. I was like, all right, where's the gift? Let's go. And they're like, oh, just give us a second. We want to get stuff together. I was like, get stuff together. Ain't no get stuff together. Let's go get the gift. And I said, you know what? If you don't have my gift ready, I'm getting in my car. I'm going to GameStop to get a new controller. I need a controller for my Xbox 360 anyway. And so my uncle and my cousins were like, well, we'll just take you. I was like, no, I'll get in my car. They're like, well, no, you can't get in your car because Miko just left with Titi. I said, wait a minute. Why am I getting dropped off? Why am I getting dropped off on my birthday for a gift that isn't ready when I just wanted to sit in my house with my plastic cup and my basketball shorts? So now I'm starting to get angry because you're messing with my flow, and I don't like that at all. And I'm like, well, fine, you guys can take me to GameStop. Thanks for bringing me here because this is awesome. I'm not doing anything. And my birthday was on a Sunday that year, and I hated having to go to work the day after my birthday. Anyway, they take me to GameStop. I get my controller. And I'm like, okay, can we go to your house now? Can I get my gift, which I'm very thankful for, but I want to be left alone, and get my gift? And then I'll go home, we'll hug each other, it's all good. My uncle's then like, no, we got to make one more stop. And I'm like, all right, man, fine. So he stops at Home Depot. I hate Home Depot almost as much as I hate the grocery store. Okay? I hate Home Depot almost as much as I hate the grocery store. And that's where you're taking me on my birthday at 7 o'clock at night when I got to get up early and go to work tomorrow. All I want to do is play Xbox. And so it finally got to the point where they walked around Home Depot for so long. Like, I'm the type of person that's like, fine, if you guys are going to hold me hostage, I'm out. I walked to the bus stop over by the Home Depot by my aunt and uncle's house. I was going to catch the bus home and just my wife will get home whenever she gets home. I'm done. You people are insane. I asked for one thing on my birthday, and that's the one thing everybody's effing up. And so when I get to then the bus isn't there, so I call my wife. I'm like, Miko, would you and I'm standing outside in the rain while this is going on. And I'm like, will you please? My whole family's gone nuts. They took me to Home Depot, and then they said something about trying to force me to go to dinner. I don't want to eat dinner with these people. I just want to go home. And by the way, I love these people dearly. All right. This is my family who I'm extremely close with, but they just did things the wrong way. Again, understanding love languages. I said, come outside. I'm at the bus stop over here in this one town by the Home Depot. Enough is enough. Come get me from whatever you're doing. I don't care about the gift anymore. That's like, it took hours of me getting screwed with to get me to that point. Cause I'm not a yeller. I'm not like that. I'm usually like, can we just, come on. I'm usually peaceful, but I'd had enough. And so I'm on the phone with her. She's like, look over to your right. And I look over, and she walks out of Carrabba's restaurant holding a happy birthday balloon. And so I walk over to Carrabba's where my wife, so it wasn't a mistake that I was in Home Depot because it was across the street from where this thing was being made to have, my present was being made to happen. I walk into Carrabba's, my entire family is there to celebrate. It was a surprise birthday party. And now I am the jerk because I've just belittled my wife on the phone. Like I said, the Good Life Playbook, if you were looking for rainbows and unicorns, I'm going to tell you all the truth about what it's like to be married and be happily married. So I'm the jerk walking in. My mom's like, I guess you just can't be happy with it. I was like, I'm not trying to be a jerk. The way you guys orchestrated, first of all, I'm too smart for a surprise birthday party the way you guys did it. There's no way you guys could have thought that I wasn't going to question all these stupid things you're making me do. So first mistake was not that you did a surprise birthday party, but you did it so terribly that all it looks like is you all are screwing with me. And that's not fun. Like, I didn't get here surprised and I'm like, oh, this is great. No, I'm angry and I'm soaking wet. What's the moral of the story? You need to understand other people's love languages. Miko's love language, acts of service. She went through so much trouble to pull that thing off for me that in her mind, he's totally going to appreciate all of this work that I put in to make this thing happen. Right? Wrong. Now, not wrong. Of course, I appreciated it, but I was distressed because of the way it was executed. And why was I distressed? Well, because I had one thing I wanted to do that was being disrupted. You weren't respecting my love language. Right? Acts of service is her number one love language. Mine is touch. I don't get a ton out of people doing acts of service to me. I'm very appreciative, but that is not how one conveys love to me. Conveying love to me, first and foremost, is touch. And if any of you have ever been around me in real life, I'm more like this with men than I am with women because I don't like it to be awkward or make people uncomfortable. But I'm a hands-on person. If I shake a man's hand, I will hug him. Right? Because that's what like I said in the beginning, that's what my father taught me. He was very much, he would hug me. My father kissed me on my head until I was grown. You know, for some people that's awkward. To me, that's heaven, man. People love me and embrace me. Not in a weird, awkward, wrong way. In the proper way that you embrace a child that you care for. So when you're trying to establish a relationship with somebody else, yes, your love language needs to be respected. But you have to respect the other person's love language too. And so, and if I had to pick a second one, I'd say my second one is probably quality time. Tied with words of affirmation. Like compliments, ENTJs are notorious for not taking compliments well. It just makes us feel awkward. Sometimes. I mean, I don't get weird if someone's like, oh, that was a great job. I just say, hey, thanks, and I keep it moving. But usually, if someone's trying to give me a long compliment, I'll try to change the subject. I'll try to talk about them. Oh, no, you're the one that's great. You're amazing. Please don't keep talking about me. Because we're just not good at receiving that type of praise. But you have to understand, and so this isn't just about marriage, all right? This is about all interpersonal relationships that you're going to experience in your life. You got to know how other people receive appreciation and love. My wife, acts of service. That's why she gets frustrated with me every Wednesday because the trash is supposed to go out and I'll forget. Because I don't have a lot of trash. And for me, things are out of sight, out of mind. If I forget to take the trash out, she'll get upset. Act of service. My wife will lose sleep for 24 hours to make a special personalized cake for someone's birthday. She is an acts of service person. Now, here's the funny thing about understanding love languages. Every year on her birthday, almost every year, we did it differently this year. Every year, I will listen for her to mention a food that she really likes. And every year on her birthday, I'll make it for her. That communicates two things. One, I'm not an acts of service guy. Two, I hate cooking. I hate it. I'm actually good at it though. I just hate doing it because it's tedious. I hate following steps and doing checklists. Not a part of my personality type. So one year she decided I would love some baklava. If any of you have ever made baklava, then you understand, all in all, this is about an 11-hour process between getting all the materials and preparing this dessert. 11 hours of love that I would do even though I hate it because that's the way she receives love. So I remember the year I did that would have been 4 years ago. It took me until she was waking up in the morning to finish. And I said, listen, stay out of this part of the kitchen until I wake up. I just finished your gift and I'm going to bed. That's how long it took me to do it. And so, no, I said, your gift's in the kitchen. I'm going to bed. I hope you enjoy it. Happy birthday. I love you. And I went to bed. And when I woke up, she was just giddy. Like, oh my God, you made me baklava. And it's actually really, really good. Like I said, I can cook, but I hate doing it. I'm not an acts of service guy. But if I want to convey love to my wife in the way that she's going to best receive it, I've got to speak her language. If you want to formulate relationships that will be strong forever, whether it's a marriage, it's a friendship, family you can't really get away from, but you can make the relationship stronger, then you have to learn how to speak other. This is also the reason why I do so much on personality types, because it's not just our love languages, it's speaking to people in their cognitive language. When you speak to me, speak in concepts. Speak in big pictures and then break it down. If I'm speaking to an ISTJ, I will speak in steps. I'll speak, listen, we've got to do a thing. It's going to require 13 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And once we get to 15, then this is what you'll see. I have to do it backwards when I'm talking to an ISTJ, because they receive information and they process cognitively differently than I do. They're not going to be able to look at a thing and immediately size it up like I can. That doesn't mean I'm better or worse than them. You need both people on earth to make things work. You have to learn. And it's not just learning, because you could go read this book, okay? This book honestly took me maybe 2 hours to read. Maybe. It's a very fast read. It's very easy to read. It's a good read. But if what you have to develop is empathy. You have to develop a willingness to execute on this. Just reading it's not going to help you. Oh, I know my wife's love language is gifts. But if you don't ever give her gifts, what good is reading the book? You have to develop that willingness. Now, I know while I was running my mouth, I missed a host of comments. So let me get up in here and look at them real quick. Feel free, a couple of administrative notes. Questions that you ask me, and this goes for anything I ever do, whether you're in one of my VIP programs, in my regular programs, if you're on a live call with me, your questions do not have to be about what I'm talking about. You can ask me anything. I'm happy to answer it. That's why I'm here. I tell people all the time, my purpose in life is to have a positive impact on the lives of the people that I come in contact with. So I won't dictate to you what you have to ask. You ask what you like, and I'll do my best to give you an answer if I have one. Sorry, people on Facebook. I know I just hit the microphone, and that was probably very uncomfortable for your ears. YouTube folks, you're just fine. Okay, so Luez says, mine's physical touch. How do people get their love language? Answered that one already. You know that Mr. Clean Super Bowl commercial? It's true. Fatima says, Landon, yes. There's a correlation with the Enneagram type. That would make sense. The Enneagram goes into a lot more detail. Enneagram is also a personality test that I will be covering on the YouTube channel and in the Good Life Playbook marriage program. So in the cool thing about the first video in the Good Life Playbook marriage program, well, the first video is the welcome video, but the first knowledge video is me taking a Myers-Briggs test. So you can see how I'm taking it and understand. I explain what the questions mean, because sometimes the questions are like, I don't know how to answer this. So I go into a little bit more detail about what the question's trying to get out of you, so you can answer it as honestly as you possibly can, so you get a good reading for what your personality type is. So that's the first video. And then, so for the whole month, the people in the program, we're going to discuss that. What's your personality type? Is, if you just took this test for the first time, is this what you thought your personality type was? Does it line up with you? And in terms of marriage or building a relationship, what type of personality do you think would be a good fit for you? And it's all about that self-discovery. I tell people the first pillar in life success is becoming violently self-aware. That's why I make personality type video after personality type video, because I want to give that to people, because the sooner you can establish that in your mind and in your life, the better off you will be. Let's see. Jolly Mage says, with me, quality time is because I'm a very feeling person, and that drive to connect with the person I'm with. Physical touch, when I was growing up, I was hugged by everyone, and also by females in school. Jolly says, I remember the story. Yeah, the happy birthday surprise jerk husband story. Fatima says, she's explaining the Enneagram. That's cool. It's a little bit more specific than MBTI. Yeah, so that's why I talk a lot about the cognitive functions when it comes to MBTI. And part of the challenge with psychological personality types is it's relying on psychology, which isn't a hard science. There's a lot of folks, specifically the personality test they use on Match.com, I believe, takes personality testing from a psychological perspective, but also ties it to biology. So there's things you can actually measure to give someone, this is what your personality type really is, based on how much testosterone you have in your system, how much estrogen, how much cortisol. It's helping you understand biologically how you're probably going to react in a certain situation, which I think is very valuable, because as I've said forever, and I've had people argue with me, and that's cool because I don't know if I'm right, tests like the Myers-Briggs are not exact. Like people that argue with me that when I made the video, can you be two personality types? The point of the video isn't that you are two personality types. It's that the Myers-Briggs is designed to measure you on a scale of preference. And so the person who invented this other test I'm talking about on Match.com, her name escapes me. I made a video about her on Instagram. She'll be following me on all social media, everybody. She basically said the problem with things like the Myers-Briggs is that they pigeonhole people. I'm an ENTJ, that's it. Next. That means I'm always this, I'm always that. No, there are traits about ENTJ that don't suit me at all. Nope, I don't, that one's wrong. Why? Because it's not just this psychological measures that makes us us. It's life experience. Sometimes it's trauma. Different things can shape. I have ENTJ friends who like entertainment that I can't stand. Like, right? It's not exact. It's just to give you an idea. Enneagram does go into a lot more detail, but again, these are still things that are measuring tendencies and preferences, not measuring you are exactly this. Because a lot of times, for example, some personality types are extremely hard to read. I have a lot of people, some of my mentors in my life, who you'd think are highly extroverted. They are not. Because they can morph in and out of certain behaviors because like them and I and other people, we work to develop our cognitive functions. So I am not as weak in certain cognitive functions as a typical ENTJ. Because I'm self-aware and I can adjust. And that's what I want to help you all do. Luis says, you're funny. Cool. I'm pretty sure my love language is English, says the Mad Hatter. Well said, Mad Hatter. Excellent. Andre says, what armed services group did you serve in? The only one that matters, man. The Army. And I'm just kidding. They all matter. But we all know the Army is the most important. The Army. My friends. Okay, any other questions we got while we're here? So, okay, that was my spiel. Let's jump into the Q&A. What questions do you have about personality types, about love languages, about relationships, about how to build a marriage? The floor is now all of yours. I won't keep you any longer than you want to stay. I will alert you to the fact that on Facebook and on YouTube, in YouTube, if you look at the video description, I have placed a link. Dark Feather says, what's up, BC? How's it going? It's going swimmingly. As a very smart writer who I know in my life often says to me, I thought that was a cool way to describe how one is doing. Swimmingly. It's going really well. Going really well. Mr. Master says, how do you work on patience? I know that may be vague, but I feel like I'm very impatient at sometimes. So life will give you more opportunities than you ever care to encounter to exercise patience. So what you're trying to do is not work on patience so much as you're working to practice exercising it. And it starts with everything I've said here, being self-aware. What are the things that cause you to be impatient? When you find yourself in those situations, stop and think, because your instincts want to kick in, but use this prefrontal cortex that God has blessed you with. Stop, think, how should I be reacting in this situation? And if you're talking about patience in terms of like you're waiting for a mate, use the time, because what I see with a lot of single folks who want to be with somebody is they get very frustrated because it's not happening. Well, part of the reason why I think those things don't happen is because we're not in a place where we're ready for it yet. And thus, because we're not developed, we're not attracting it to us. You know what I mean? So, you'll have more than enough opportunities to exercise patience. If you want to work on it, you need to use every opportunity that makes you frustrated or impatient to say, you know what, I'm going to exercise patience here. And I'll give you an example. When I first started doing YouTube as an entertainer, I approached it from a very impatient standpoint because I had been doing entertainment for a long time. I wanted to hit the platform running and do all these things. And I thought because the quality of my message and the spirit behind my message would resonate with a lot of people, that it would help me to get to a certain level, not just of growth like raw numbers of subscribers, but get to the engagement that I wanted. Well, what I realized was it took me a lot longer to get anywhere because I didn't follow some of the rules of the road, so that was on me. But I also I wasn't being empathetic and spending more time listening than I was talking. Like I thought I had the answer, so I'm going to execute. So I had to exercise patience to understand, okay, step back. Let me take a look at the landscape here and really understand what's going on. I'm like, oh, okay. So the audience is skewed a bit younger. So what I'm saying in this specific arena isn't really going to find a large engaged audience because the people who are old enough to really care about this aren't sitting on YouTube waiting to listen to what I have to say and talk with me. So when I adjusted to say, okay, I'm going to take my marketing company and just turn what I'm doing as an entertainer into what I do in business with clients, I had to exercise a lot of patience because it took me so long to get people to buy into this new thing that was happening because they got so used to this other thing. And there was a lot of challenges there. So it's one of those things where when something's not coming as fast as you want it, it's just stop, look around. What can I learn from the frustration? Or in the gym. It took me 2 years of lifting the wrong way. Took me 2 years total to get to my goals as a bodybuilder. I did more in the last 6 months than I did in the prior 18 months combined because I got smart. Like I wasn't getting the results I wanted. I was getting impatient. I said, wait, stop. Let me go read. There's people who've already done this. Let me go read what they did and what they say. So I started studying Arnold Schwarzenegger and really breaking down the things that he did. And I just deployed patience. I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this until I get where I want to go. But I'm not going to come in the gym every day and expect that I'm just going to blow up overnight. And in 6 months, I blew up. But that was after a previous 18 months of experimentation and getting it wrong. So it took me 2 years to really get to where I wanted to be in terms of, and I'm much smaller now because once I got that big, I just realized it's very hard to maintain that healthily and monetarily, the amount of food I had to eat. I was eating 5,000 calories a day to maintain. I was almost 300 pounds. So it's just, life will give you plenty of opportunities to exercise patience. You just have to take the opportunities. So, how can you effectively use MBTI in your life? Watch all the videos on this channel and you'll know. And I don't say that to be a jerk. I say that because that's a very general question that I couldn't answer with just one thing. I would go around and watch the MBTI videos that appeal to you. But the general answer is the way you can effectively use it in your life is it helps you become self-aware. And if you can get other people around you to take the test, it helps you understand how to interact with them to get the optimal results out of the relationships that you're in. Luez says, you were funny. Although you say all personality types don't really matter and we're all different. When you talk, when I see your facial expressions, it's like you're talking to my soul. Cool, man. ENTJ. Especially with the birthday story. Yeah, the birthday story, whew, that was a tough one. Let's see. Luez says, I'm having a ball, dude. Don't know many ENTJs, if any, in my area, so I'm having so much fun listening. Yeah, so ENTJs make up 2 to 5% of the American population. I'm assuming you live in the United States. It's roughly upwards of 5% of the population. So if you do the math on that, 1% of the population would be roughly 3 million people. So maybe there's 15 million ENTJs. I think that's right. I may be doing my fractions wrong, but bottom line is we're a very small percentage of the world. Lives in Memphis. Yep, there you go. And the Jolly Mage's post did the link to the Good Life Playbook marriage program. Again, if you are interested, if you click on that, it'll take you to the page where you can get signed up, which would be dope because there's a lot to get out of it. A lot of the things that I talk about here, we'll talk about, like I said, in more depth in there. I'm gonna actually tonight, before I let you go, as I'm answering your questions, I'm going to show you some of the other things we're going to be discussing in the program and really walk you through what are the benefits of the program. What will you get out of it, other than what you get out of being here? Is MBTI genetic? Possibly. Well, not MBTI. MBTI was just designed to measure, to explain an observation of human behavior. So I don't think MBTI in and of itself is genetic, but the fact that we have differing personality types in the way we process information, the way we make decisions, the way we act, I think a lot of scientists, especially evolutionary psychologists, would argue that yes, that is genetic, and it's been born out of humanity's need to survive, and that you've needed, like, if the world was all ENTJs, it would be a struggle. If the world was all ISTJs, it would be nothing, whatever. Like, we would never make progress. We would just get up every day and do the same thing over and over and over again. And that's not, I'm not saying that to criticize the personality type. It's just, I'm generically describing the gist of these personality types, right? And so if you didn't have a mix, survival would be much harder. Because, and that's why, I think it was Alan Nation, famous, may God rest his soul, famous farmer, agriculture background gentleman. I think he was quoted as saying, never marry the exact same personality type as you, because then what's the benefit? You don't balance each other. You don't complement each other. And I'd probably agree with that. I don't think it's like doomed to failure if two ENTJs get married, but if two ENTJs get married, their built-in weaknesses are not going to, like, my built-in weakness is a perceived lack of sensitivity. So having a wife that's a feeler helps me with that. And she helps me develop my cognitive functions to be socially aware of when I am coming across as a jerk, when nothing could be further from my intent. Sometimes it's just how we come across. Dark Feather says, any advice for dealing with unrequited love? Burying yourself in drinks, gaming, music don't seem to work as a distraction, especially when you accept it is what it is. So I'm going to assume by unrequited love, I need to make an assumption for how I answer this question. I'm going to assume that means you feel that you are in love with a specific person, and that love is not coming back the other way. So before I answer, Dark Feathers, tell me if I'm right in that assumption. If I'm right, then the answer is very easy. If I'm wrong, and this is a more general statement, we'll figure that out. Andre says, hypothetically, will two people of the same personality type get along better? You could, but you could also have natural conflict because you share the same weaknesses. But by and large, I've never met an ENTJ that I didn't get along with. But part of that comes down to, like what I said earlier, just their temperament and disposition as a human outside of just their psychology. Their experiences in life and their outlook could be, even though we have the same type of mental function, we may approach life in very different ways and make different decisions. But I don't think I've ever met an ENTJ. Now I will say I've met ENTJs that I've had crazy debates. My mentor, one of my main mentors, is an ENTJ. And as an ENTJ, we're naturally competitive. So you get he and I in a room, we had a huge, not fight, but this huge debate. We were playing a game, and it was about to go to like, hey, you said, and it was us going back and forth at each other playing a card game. So, there can be conflict when two people are very similar, just like there can when people are opposites. Let's see. So Dark Feather says, yes, my assumption was right. Very simple question. Check it, man. Over 7 billion people on the planet. Move on. Move the frick on, bro. There are too many people on this planet for you to be chasing somebody around that doesn't want to holler back at you. You know, I mean, now unless you assess the situation and, you know, without more information, it's hard for me to say that absolutely. But dude, if she's just not feeling you and that's not going to change, move on. If there's something that you're not getting right that doesn't force you to compromise who you are or become a different person or change something about you that you don't feel you should have to change, then just move on, man. There's too many people on, like, I think back to like the people I had crushes on as a little kid. And if I had, I'm not saying that you're a little kid, I've been married since I was very young. So, you know, the last time I went on a date, I don't think Match.com existed. All right. So I think back to those people and I'm like, if I had spent my whole life wishing that person would have loved me, what would I have missed out on, man? Because here's a giveaway I'll give you, something that we'll talk about in big time depth in the program. And I'll give this one away, man. And I give away most of my stuff anyway. It's not secret. When you're with the right person, it shouldn't be hard. It shouldn't. Building the beginning parts of the relationship should be like, what did Forrest Gump say in the movie Peas and Carrots? It shouldn't be hard. Like, you should not be working hard on date 3 to make it work. If you're working hard on date number 3 to make the relationship work, it is a relationship that you probably shouldn't be in. And let me give you a practical example so you can understand what I mean by working hard. Let's say on date 1, you go to Match, or I don't know the websites, dude. Like the eHarmony was the only dating website I think that existed when I got married. I think. But the point is, let's say you go on Tinder or whatever they are, and you agree to meet up with this girl. We're gonna meet at the Starbucks on 3rd Street in New York, right? And you accidentally heard the 3rd Street on the Starbucks on 3rd Avenue, not 3rd Street. I may be having the streets in New York wrong, but this just to make the point. So you got it wrong, and you go to 3rd Avenue, she goes to 3rd Street, and you realize, oh crap! You relook at your text because she's not there, and you're like, oh crap, she said 3rd Street. So you rush to 3rd Street to meet with this lady. Let's just assume that it's not that far away, so you're late by 10 minutes, right? You're late to the date by 10 minutes. And when you get there, she reads you the riot act. Don't you know how valuable my time is? And I can't believe I signed up to go on this date with you, and you would dare come late and leave me hanging. Most men, and I'm using men in this case, you could totally flip it. Women, this could happen to you too. Absolutely. But most people in that situation are going to go home and be like, oh man, that sucked. I really wish I could have made that work. No, you don't. No, you don't wish you could have made that work. That chick's crazy. You were 10 minutes late and she berated you over it on the first date? Please. That is a recipe for disaster. If someone doesn't have the tolerance, the patience, and the acceptance to accept a mistake that was made, it wasn't like you just blew her off for 10 minutes. You wouldn't explain like, hey, I'm sorry I went to 3rd Avenue. No, I don't want to hear it. Like, be glad she freaked out because she just saved you a lifetime of a horrible marriage. Or he. It doesn't have to be a woman. Either or. You just, her blowing up, you should go outside, say, sorry, miss, let's go ahead and adjourn here. I'm sorry I wasted your time. God bless you. You should go outside and thank Jesus personally for letting that date go that way, because she just told you she's a crappy person or he is a crappy person. And most people look at that the wrong way. You're not reading the signs right in front of you that this person isn't cool. And you're working hard on date 3. We're going to couples therapy. You've only gone on 7 dates and you're in couples therapy. Leave. You've been trying to chase this woman around for however long and she's not feeling you. Bounce. What is so special about this individual that she's just the one? And this is something I'm not going to get into detail about it here because it's an extremely nuanced issue, but I will make the comment because I know it's very controversial. There is no one. Okay? Let's be clear about that. There is no one perfect person for you. All right? Now, there are people who are well suited for you. Right? Because if there were only, and here's how I'll make the point. Because there are people who believe in fate and destiny, and that's cool. I subscribe to that a bit too. But I think in a lot of ways, even if you're a Bible believing person like I am, a lot of your destiny is in your control. Like if you read the first chapter of Genesis, God gives dominion over the earth to the humans, so we have the dominion. We're allowed to make the choices, right? If there was only one person on this earth for you, let's say you're talking about a married couple that's been married 40 years and the wife passes away. Why does the husband get remarried? If she was the only person on the planet that could have possibly fulfilled this man's life, why does he get remarried? If she was the only one, if we truly believe that there's just one person for every one person, then he don't ever get remarried. If that happens, it's over. You lost. You see what I'm saying? It's a more practical approach than what most romance novels and TV shows. That's what I told you guys in the beginning of the video. All this nonsense that comes on TV and movies. It's nonsense. Right? Now, I'm not saying that everybody in the world is right for you. I'm not saying that either. I think there is probably a small band of people that could potentially be good long-term mates for you. And whether you're an atheist and you just believe in doing your thing, or even if you're a Bible-believing person that believes in some level of fate, remember that God's going to respect your faith and your decision. And he's going to bless it because that was your choice. Right? Unless you do something outside of the stipulations there. But you get the point. So, you got to balance, dude. Unless I'm missing something with the little bit of context you gave me. Next. In the NFL, they call it next man up. Someone gets hurt, next man up. Let's go. Next lady up. Or, I assume it's a lady. Fatima, a good friend of mine, is an ENFP. I see he is dealing with tough, it looks like tough is the word there, emotional struggles that he hesitates to talk about. How and in which way can I approach him to make him open up and so that you can help him? Well, let's take a ride on over to the NFP. So let me look up something real quick before I answer this, because I'd like to use a bit of psychology here. Okay, so the NFP is going to lead with extroverted intuition, and then they're going to follow with introverted feeling. The reason why they're having a hard time opening up with you is we introverted feelers aren't good at opening up about how we feel. Feeling is very private for us, and it's hard for us to be open and vulnerable about things that we're feeling. Like our feelings oftentimes make us feel uncomfortable. So talking about them isn't easy. So what you want to do, I would say, if you understand the situation a little bit, like they're going through a struggle, appeal to that person's value system. Like, tell me what's going on in your life. Has somebody wronged you? Are you in a situation that you think you deserve not to be in? Appeal to their values. Because as an introverted feeler, their values are probably what's driving their frustration or their emotional issues. Like, how have you been wronged lately? Or what's something that happened that was wrong that really set you off? All right, that's how I would approach that. But also you need to be prepared to accept that he, or I think it was a he, may just not want to talk about it, and just be a friend. And if he doesn't want to talk about it, just offer emotional support in another way. Alf says, "What are my political views?" I'm apolitical, dog. I have a general disdain for politics, to be perfectly honest with you. I think it's a dog and pony show game that's being played at the expense of the American people. And I think there's a lot of self-interested people who use a lot of rhetoric and overly generic speech about things that they're going to do to get people fired up so that they can get into positions of authority and use that for their own advantage. Now, I would not attribute that to every politician who's ever walked the earth. I have family members who are what I consider to be legitimate politicians. I just think bureaucratic systems that get together and argue about how to best solve collective problems is one way to get things done. I think it's highly inefficient. I think what you'll see probably, this is just me talking, I could be absolutely wrong. History may, the history book may be written if I end up being important, like this guy was an idiot. What was he talking about? I don't know. But I think what we're going to find in the next 15, 20 years is that more change is going to be brought about by entrepreneurs. And in fact, it's already happening. Mark Zuckerberg has done more for this earth than the last, how many presidents combined? Why? Because he's connected Earth. Name a president or a politician that connected the Earth. And sure, the argument could be made that politicians made it possible with laws and regulations for this thing to happen. But believe me, that thing was the will of the people. It was going to come to pass whether politicians voted for it now or later, because they vote for what's politically tenable for their career, not always what they think is right. So, there, my friend. And political questions are not, I'm like Joel Salatin, man. No questions are off the table. I don't avoid questions. You want to ask me something, ask it. How would you handle someone that gives you subtle, snide remarks and is a bit passive-aggressive? I've been friends with him for over 5 years. He's an ENFJ, and I'm an ENTJ. It comes down to how valuable the friendship is. What is the value this person's bringing to the table? That, first of all, why are you still friends with him? And I'm not asking that because he's making snide comments. I'm asking it so you can evaluate, why are you still in a relationship with this person? What value are you getting out of being connected to them? That's the first thing you have to ask. Because if there's no value, then, like if you're getting nothing out of the relationship, there's just someone you've known for a long time and all they're doing is screwing with you and not doing anything to build you up. And I'm not saying that that's the case, but if that were the case, you cut them off. Like, why would you even waste any emotional energy addressing that? You know what I mean? Like, if someone I just met last week started coming at me with snide and stupid stuff, you're just not going to be around. Like, I'm very, very just controlling over the circle of people that I keep in my life. Like, I'm not a very controlling person, but that is something I control very heavily, is the people I allow into this sphere. Because I have a family, I have people that I care about, and I have me. And I don't like putting up with stupid people or putting up with people that are just completely psychopathic or sociopathic. And by stupid, I don't mean like someone that struggles or has ignorance. I mean someone that's just, you can't fix stupid. You should see some of the things people send me as an internet person. And it's, God love them. I pray for them and I hope that they get it together. But some people, you got to let them figure it out. If the person's valuable to you, then you say, hey, look, when you make these comments to me, I take them as snide and passive aggressive. And frankly, I really don't appreciate it. I'd appreciate that if you have an issue with me, that you would kind of grow a pair and step to me directly. See how they react to that. And be empathetic too. The comments may not even be directed at you. You may just be the recipient of something this person's going through, and because you're someone that's close to them in their life, they're taking it out on you. So ask the questions. If this is someone that really matters to you, confront them in love and just say, hey, when you do this, I don't really appreciate it. Talk to me. Why are you doing it? And frankly, cut it out, because we're close. We don't, people are so afraid to confront other human beings. I have no idea why that's the case. Confront them. Confrontation doesn't mean you have to be a jerk or yell or make somebody feel bad. You just have to tell them, look, you're doing something that isn't cool, dog. We need to adjust fire. And life is too short to avoid those types of conversations, man. Time is short. Fatima says, great, thanks. No sweat. Do you ever feel anxious or depressed? I mean, I think anxious is what you're calling anxious, I imagine, if you mean what I think you mean. It's a biological reaction to stressful situations. So sure, there are times where I can feel anxious. Depressed, not so much. I'm a pretty joyful person. I've been in some pretty dark places in my life over the years. But overall, I think the joy outweighs the depression. There are things that I'd say depress me, but I like to think of myself as a stoic, a person who is on the path to is constantly learning how to control my emotions so that the actions I take don't reflect what I'm feeling, they reflect what's right. So that's what I've been working on in my life for the last several years, is developing that Marcus Aurelius style stoicism where it's like, I don't need to let this situation depress me or make me anxious, because I'm not going to be anxious because it doesn't mean me any real harm. There's no real threat here. I'm not going to get depressed because that's letting somebody else have control over me, or letting a circumstance have control over me, when I'm the one that's in control. And frankly, I'm the one that's responsible. Right? So that's how I overcome that. Can you talk about your experience with your FI throughout your life and how it has changed over time? So, introverted feeling is my last and weakest cognitive function. I guess, to be very short, me having FI is my weakest, I guess, cognitive function. It's made me a person that can be off-putting to feelers, because remember, feeling and thinking are decision-making functions. So I'm always making, and I lead with extroverted thinking, so I lead with decision making. And I think what I've seen over time in my experience with introverted feeling is that I often make decisions based on outcomes versus based on feeling or values or how it's going to affect people. Now, hear me out. Like, I don't make decisions that intentionally hurt people just to get to an outcome that I want. But I am willing to, I'll give you an example. I am willing to lift weights to the point of almost vomiting because of the outcome that I'm going to get, which is stronger, bigger muscles and the ability to perform better. Right? And it's not necessarily a great example, because I'm sure there are feelers who are able to do that too. But the point is, I'm willing to put myself in that discomfort to get my desired outcome. What I've experienced with feelers a lot of times is, if they're an introverted feeler themselves, they don't want me to infringe upon their values with my decision that I made. Or if they're an extroverted feeler, they're like, oh, but your decision, like my wife, your decision's going to affect the kids and they might feel bad. And I'm like, well, they may feel bad for a second, but at the end of the day, this is going to make everybody's life better when we get to the outcome. So I'm okay with that little bit of discomfort. Like, I'm not going to hurt anybody. So for me, the FI being the weakest has put me in a lot of situations where I've come across as cold or insensitive when I wasn't meaning to be. It's just the way that I'm perceived. Let's see. The Mad Hatter. What kind of inner world do ENTJs have? Like, is it almost as interesting as INFP's inner world? So an INFP, let's see, where you at, INFP? Kind of. So the difference with the INFP, my inner world is based on introverted intuition. As an INFP, you use extroverted intuition. So a lot of times I can come across as an introvert to people because my introverted intuition, it's very deep in thought. It's very, how do we get to the bottom of this? How do we understand the greater meaning of these things that are very personal to me in my own realm? Like, if you ever see me in the gym, it's almost as if no one else is there. That's my sanctuary. That's where I go to recharge. And it's like, I put my headphones on, my hat down, and I'm just in the zone with my thoughts, with my focus. And that, for me, is my inner world, and it's very contemplative. And it can shut out the rest of the world. I think with extroverted intuition for you, it's a bit more tied to what's going on around you in the world, and mine is more tied to what's going on inside. Luez says, what are the most life-changing books you've read? Self-help, scientific, or fiction? Also, what are the books you've read to help your exercise lifting? All right, so life-changing books off the top of my head. Bible, 1. Managing Oneself, 2. The Obstacle is the Way, that's a new one. It's not necessarily number 3, but it's an amazing book, especially if you want to be a Stoic. The Art of War, The Lessons of History, The Chronicles of Narnia, all of them, The Phantom Tollbooth. What other books am I missing? I mean, there's tons of them, man. I've read How to Win Friends and Influence People. I have here on my desk. Actually, this book, which we will be covering in the Good Life Marriage Program, The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work. Amazing book. We're going to go into a lot of detail when we get into the actual building of the marriage part of the program. So yeah, I mean, there's so many. I'm trying to think of books I've read recently. Purple Cow was dope. As far as bodybuilding goes, I didn't read a lot of books. I did a lot of internet research there. So I watched and read a lot of the things Arnold taught on. There's a lot of other bodybuilders that I follow. I reached out to other bodybuilders to get help. And in fact, I used a lot of Jeff Cavalier's stuff from YouTube. Like, I don't watch a lot of YouTube, which is weird when you make YouTube videos and people, especially because I coach YouTubers, they're like, you don't watch a lot of YouTube, how do you coach people? I said, well, I mean, I watch things so I know what's going on. But I am not a person that just sits around for hours every night. Ooh, let's watch this next video. Like, rarely do I do that. Every once in a while I'll find something that's cool and I'll binge watch something, but that's it. But with Jeff, I watched Jeff religiously when I was building because he was helping me understand the science behind things in ways that a lot of other coaches and bodybuilders just have wrong. And just when he backed it up with science, I was very much drawn to that. Elliot Holst, too, who I often get people telling me that I remind them of him, which I think is cool because Elliot's a cool cat. All right, what do we have? Do you believe in date nights? Are they hard for you to fit in, being that you have little kids and all? You know me, always time management challenge. Yeah. I don't necessarily believe in you should always schedule date night on the same night, same time, schedule, blah, blah, blah. I'm not a schedule dude. I'm like, let's just get stuff done. But yeah, I believe you have to have intimate time, especially when you have small children. You've got to make time for intimacy with your spouse because it's so easy to spend time apart doing life, working with the kids, working in the business, doing homework with the kids, that you two start to drift apart. And this has happened in our marriage where we've had to regroup and say, look, we got to start spending more time together. I haven't talked to you in 3 days outside of coming to bed, kissing you on the forehead and you mumbling, love you, right? So you have to make time. And it's hard when you have a lot of kids because then you got to pay babysitters, right? And that can be tough. Because there are nights where we've gone out, even in recent history, where the babysitter costs more than the dang date. Fortunately for us, we have moved my mother-in-law with us, so she helps us greatly with that. And that's how I do the time management is we'll make plans and we switch. So some nights Miko will take my mother-in-law out and I'll be with the kids. Other nights I will take Miko out and my mother-in-law will be with the kids. Or some nights I'll just go out and Miko and my mother-in-law will be with the kids. Or my mother-in-law will go out and Miko will be. So we trade. I really believe in raising a family in a village, like the tribal aspect of having lots of mentors around you. That's what I had growing up, and it was very much a blessing. So to the degree that you could be close to family, I highly recommend that. But yes, I do believe in, even if it's like tonight, if she's still awake after this call, we're supposed to watch Fast and the Furious 7. Because I took her to see Fast and the Furious 8 for her birthday. I had never seen Fast and the Furious, any of them. So we binge watched all of them the rest of that weekend except for 7 and Tokyo Drift. So we still got to watch 7, and she's supposed to come down here and watch 7 with me tonight. And that's going to be our quote-unquote date night. And she just had a date night. Like, I was home with the kids tonight, and so was my mother-in-law, and she had a date night with one of her girlfriends. So yeah, I definitely believe in that. You have to make time for one another. Even if it's something simple where you don't go out of the house and you just spend quality time with each other, you got to do it. It's got to get done. Andre says, I'm getting tired, so I'm going to leave soon. You are great at educating, even when you don't try to. Thanks, Andre. God bless you, man. Luez says, and Luez, I hope I've been saying your name right all night. You haven't corrected me, so I'm going to assume I have. How do you win friends and influence people? My main point is to genuinely like people. As an ENTJ, that is so hard because I tend to like people first, but then realize that they're a waste of time. So no human is a waste of your time in and of themselves. Spending time with other humans could be a waste of your time, but I'd encourage you to read How to Win Friends and Influence People if you haven't already, because it's not just about liking other people. And here's why I'll say that. In your life, you're going to come across a lot of people you don't like. It's just how you're wired. There are people in my life who I love them, but I can't stand them. Not family really or anybody close to me, but there's people that just get on my nerves. You know, there aren't people I'm around a lot, and for good reason, but that's going to happen. But How to Win Friends and Influence People is a lot of what we've been talking about tonight. I still have to show them respect and love and dignity, whether I like them or not. Doesn't mean I got to hang out with them every night and go to the bar or shoot pool. Like, I just have to show them love. You win friends and influence people by, you know, the platinum rule, man. Treat others the way they want to be treated and keep it moving. Matt Hatter says, have you taken oration classes? You take the smallest input and put out 500 times the volume. No, well, this is not entirely true. I did have a speech writing class and speech presenting class once in college, but I'm also a member of Toastmasters, or I'm becoming a member. I've been going to Toastmasters. I haven't officially become a member yet, where they work on your public speaking ability. So yeah, I guess the answer is yes. Maggie Mosby, hey Maggie, what would you say to an INFJ who doesn't feel like the perfect INFJ or feels more rude/inconsiderate than INFJs are expected to be? Wow. So right off the bat, I'd say there's no such thing as a perfect INFJ. I'd start there. And you feel like you're more rude or inconsiderate than INFJs are expected to be. So I don't think you should be looking at this from a personality perspective so much as if someone's told you that you are rude and inconsiderate, or you feel that in yourself, take real inventory. If someone's told you that and there's someone that you respect, ask them to give you a practical example of when you did it, so that you can see, here's what I did and here's how it received, even if you didn't mean it to be that way. So you can see how you're coming across regardless of your intent. 2, if there's no one else saying that to you, take inventory. Like, figure out, are you really being rude and inconsiderate, or are you just slightly insecure about the way you come across to people? And you would do the same thing. Pull someone close to you aside and say, hey, do you ever feel like at times I'm rude or inconsiderate? If they say, yeah, can you give me an example? Because I'm really trying to work this out in my life. If they say no, I'd ask them a second time, like, no, seriously, be 100% honest with me. Don't spare my feelings because I want to improve. And if they say, no, seriously, you're fine, then you're probably fine and maybe just being a little bit insecure. Speaking of corrections, it's Mr. Mussa. Okay, Mr. Mussa, got it. Or Mr. Musa or Mr. Mussa. Either way. Matt Hatter says, have you taken, okay, that was oration classes. We got Maggie. Peachy Clean says, when my husband and I go on a date, it's just pretty much just the Fleet and Farm. Don't know if you have those in your area. Anyway, I'm out. Great talk. Great talk, Peachy Clean. Peachy Clean, make sure to check out the Good Life Playbook Marriage Program. Jolly Mage will put a link in the description for you. Hope to see you over there. Thank you, Jolly. Jolly says, How to Win Friends and Influence People in the Digital Age by Dale Carnegie. That's another. I haven't read that one yet. I bet you that's pretty dope, though. Luez says, it's Luis. Got it. Luis. I'm on it, brother. But with more emphasis on Luis. Yeah, I got you. Luis. Like en Espanol. With the Z pronounced as an S. I'm with you, man. Spanish, baby. Luis. I got it. I won't mess it up again. Thank you so much for your answers, though. It's my pleasure. Have a good night, Peachy, says the Jolly Mage. Any more questions? Let's go back to Facebook, because I'm sure I've missed some comments over there. Let's see. It's funny, too, because the Facebook video freezes. Like, it caught me in a weird position. That's funny, man. And I wonder, like, if people logged in, they saw that, too. All right. Kimberly Seabrook says, wow, aha moment. I say that all the time. Always be self-aware. Excellent. I think that comment was probably about 30 minutes ago. Alf says, what's my ethnicity? Pick one. All the above. All of the above, dude. I assume Alf is a dude. But if you're not, I apologize. All right. So, now then, you guys and ladies can keep leaving questions. I'm going to go ahead and start to bring this home into the 7th inning stretch here. So, this whole night, we've talked about the 5 love languages, why it's important to understand not just your language, but the language of the people in your life, why it's important to deploy empathy at all costs, to be understanding, accepting, and tolerant is going to take you further than any other personality type digging and studying that you can do, because if you can accept other people as they are, you are already winning. Okay, and not trying to change people and conform them into your way of thinking or doing things, you're already going to win. And we all have a tendency to do that. I'm not saying that like I'm some saint sitting on a throne telling you this is what you have to do. Something I work on constantly. So we talked about those things. We talked about dispelling the myths about relationships, the realities of the relationships, things that we go into way more detail rather in our Good Life Playbook marriage program. Now, let me throw this out there, because I know we're calling it the marriage program, and I know a lot of you are not married. Understand, this program isn't for just married people, although if you are married, I think it would be greatly helpful for you to be a part of it. Even if you're not married, if your ultimate goal in life is to have healthy, loving relationships with a significant other that leads to a long-term marriage that's happy and healthy and doesn't have, not that it won't have problems, because you're going to have those, but you're never in danger of the divorce or just living out a miserable existence because you made bad decisions. That's what the program is designed to help you do. So if you have a desire to be married, even if you're not, I'd say it's almost more powerful, because the whole first part of the program is we're building it, and we release a new video every single month, and we discuss the videos in the private group on Facebook. Every video that we're releasing right now is about helping you understand you. Like I said, violently self-aware. So even if marriage isn't your thing, it's going to help you become a stronger version of yourself, make you the strongest version of yourself, like Elliot Ho says, stealing that one from him, so that when you get into a relationship, you don't carry all these bags into it with you like so many of us do, myself included. So if that's interesting to you, if you want to have that benefit, and if you are married, especially if you're married and you're facing challenges, again, this is not a counseling program. I am not a counselor. I'm not certified in any of that stuff. This is a group of people. It's designed to be a group of people that come together and share their stories, share their experiences, their lessons learned, their knowledge, so that you can take all of that from the lessons, from the things that we discuss, and from the other people in the group, and build that into your relationship. Chances are, as the program grows, whatever problems you're facing, you're going to meet someone else there who's had them. You may find out that my wife and I have had those challenges, either as single people or since we've been married. So if that's something that's valuable to you, you ultimately want to be prepared to have a good marriage, a great marriage, an amazing marriage, or you want to take the marriage that you're in, and maybe it's great, and turn it to amazing, maybe it's decent, you want to get it to great, that's what we're all about. I don't want to see the divorce rate be what it is in this country. And what really scared me, one of the reasons why I launched this program first, is with the younger millennials and the middle-aged millennials, like marriage isn't a thing to these people anymore. And one of the things I think they're missing is because so many of them are bouncing around and living life. And that's cool. I'm not saying getting married later is wrong, but these people who've just written marriage off because they've seen it fail so much, maybe they came from a family where it was just, like I don't want any part of that, and they haven't had marriage modeled for them. And I don't want anyone to get to the latter part of their life and be like, oh man, I really wish someone could have helped me get into a healthy relationship, because you got to remember the purpose of marriage is not your happiness. Happiness is a byproduct of doing it right. The purpose of your marriage is for two people to come together and do what they couldn't do alone. So your dreams, your desires, all the things you want to do, believe me, I couldn't do any of this if it wasn't for that lady that you just saw walk upstairs. In fact, as a soldier, I probably wouldn't be alive if I wasn't coming home to that woman. Okay? That's the things you have to understand about marriage. It's not just about living happily ever after and being on a honeymoon for 50 years. It's about two people are going to come together and commit to one another to make each other stronger, make each other better. Okay? If that's interesting to you, Jolly Mage, hit him with the link again, please, my good man. In the comment section, the link to the Good Life Playbook Marriage Program is also in the video description on YouTube and in the comments on Facebook. I want to thank all of you for your time. I'm going to be here for a couple more minutes to answer questions, and we'll take it from there. If you have questions about the Good Life Playbook, feel free to ask those as well if you want to know how it works. And right now, I guess I should have mentioned this. I have it discounted at more, or it's less than half the price it's going to cost once this deal is over with. Right now, I'm running it at a deal. The monthly fee is less than half of what you'll pay when that deal ends, which I'm thinking about ending that deal tomorrow. So in the next 24 hours, it's going to, I think, I have to talk it over with my wife, figure out how we're going to do it. But within the next 72 hours at the most, it's going to go up to the regular price, which is substantially more than what it is right now. So if you're dragging your feet but you're interested, now's the time to pull the trigger. 30-day money-back guarantee, no questions asked. You get in, you just realize this isn't for me, it's not what I want. You send me an email, you get a refund. No questions asked. You don't even have to give me an explanation. That's how much I believe in what we're doing here and changing lives, okay? I believe in it that much that if you come to me and like, dude, this just isn't working, in the first month, no sweat. Boom, refund, takes 3 days to get back to your bank. We shake hands, and hopefully you still keep coming around getting the free stuff. And we can still help you, because that's what this is all about, not about the money. Now, I know I missed some comments here. Oh, sorry, Facebook people, I hit the mic again. Mr. Mussa says, kind of a personal religious question. Are you saved? As in, ask Jesus for forgiveness. Yes, I have asked Jesus for forgiveness. I have asked that he might make me whole and connect me back to the Father. So yes, I do believe in Jesus. Let's see. Mad Hatter, what time is it for you? It is 11:45. It's almost tomorrow. It's almost tomorrow for me too. All right. Maggie, any good personality MBTI neuroscience books? I would probably, I don't know about neuroscience. I like this book. It's kind of pop sciencey, but there's some really good stuff in here. It's called Please Understand Me. There's a newer version of this book. This is the really old one because I got this for $1 at there was a charity like book drive. They're like, every book is $1 and the proceeds are going to whatever. And so I got like 20 books that day for $20, and this was one of them. I would say read Evolutionary Psychology. I think you probably get a kick out of that. Just be aware you're probably going to want to get Evolutionary Psychology used because that book is over $100, but it's worth every dollar. All right. Another book, though, not so much on another book that'll dabble into neuroscience a little bit is The Happiness Hypothesis. It doesn't really touch on MBTI. Happiness Hypothesis is good. So is The Selfish Gene by Richard Dawkins. Again, not MBTI. That's more of a biological book, but a lot of good stuff in there. Let's see. Dark Feathers said he had a lag and had to restart to hear your answer to my question earlier. So, Dark Feathers, did you not hear the answer to the question? Do I need to repeat it? If that's the case, you need to re-ask it because I don't remember which question was yours. Let's see. Jolly says, you do not have to be married or in a relationship. You will learn a lot about yourself and where you need to be to attract your... Yeah, that's the other thing, too. Like, part of the program is I got to get some people squared away so that the woman or man that they want will want them. You know, like one of the things I always ask my single people that come to me for advice is, what's your gravitas, man or lady? What's the thing that should be drawing people to you? And a lot of people are like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, when you know, then they'll be attracted to you. All right, the Mad Hatter. Talking about ENTJ Inner World. Old question. Let's see. Luis says, moving forward and doing something. Dark Feather says, moving on is not easy process, or it's not that easy to just do it. So no, it's It's simple. So I'm not trying to make it sound easy because it's going to hurt a little. So no, it's not easy, but it's simple. You cut them off and you move on. Does that mean it's going to hurt a little? Yes. But you deal with the pain and you keep. So the key to this, dude, is perspective. The key is absolutely perspective. This is going to hurt because I really like this person and I wish they liked me. They don't. I need to accept that and move on. I'm not saying that's easy at all. It's going to be hard. But what makes it a little easier is you thinking, wait a minute, there's 7 point whatever billion people on this planet. What are the chances that this is the only girl in the world that could make me happy? Slim to none. Probably none. You finding another person. And the thing I want you to be careful about, and we're going to get into that very heavily in the marriage, the Good Life Playbook. You need to be in the Good Life Playbook. You need to get in there because we're going to get into this book and talk about the difference between love and infatuation. That kills more relationships. Well, that's not true. Statistically, money kills more relationships than anything. But infatuation versus love and how that can lead people down a wrong road because you're infatuated with a person and you don't realize that these powerful emotions that you're feeling are not love. Love is a choice, not a feeling. I'll say that again. Love is a choice. It's not a feeling. There are feelings associated with love. They aren't love. Not in the purest definition of the word love. Agape from the Greek. Okay? So it's the weird thing is the English language uses love to mean a lot of things. Eros, agape, phileo, all these words we just translate love. The Greeks figured it out. Those words don't all mean love. And true love is not a feeling. So yes, you're going to have feelings, but it's probably because you are infatuated with this person. And infatuation, I don't care how beautiful they are, I don't care how nice they are, I don't care who they are. Like I'm married to one of the baddest chicks on the planet. And I can tell you right now, infatuation, when you first meet, it drops like 2 days into the honeymoon. All that was like, okay, we're here. What now? I'm glad we laid a foundation of friendship because now we still have something. And now, granted, infatuation can go back up and it spikes and it goes down, but you got to learn the difference between the reason why it may be hard because if you've not been with this person and there's no real connection there, it's infatuation. And you're letting that emotion control you. And what you need to focus on is, wait, there's 7 point some billion people on the planet. The chances of me finding someone else who's going to be good for me and is also going to want me, come on, bro. The chances you finding someone else, women outnumber us. Like, you're going to find someone else, right? It doesn't mean dealing with the feelings is going to be easy. But you have to, again, I only have a little bit of context to work on here, so take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. But the other thing, too, maybe you're not attracting this person because your level of attractiveness isn't where it should be. Now, I'm not just talking about physical attraction. Physical attraction is a powerful thing. But believe me, physical attraction ain't keeping any marriages together for 70 plus years. It's not happening. It's not happening. Hear me. It's not happening. Because 50 years into the marriage, she ain't going to look like she looks now. So physical attraction, it's fleeting. It's good to draw you in. It ain't what's going to keep you around, bro. It's just not going to happen. So I'm not talking about your attractiveness just physically, which can play a role. But more importantly, what about your soul, your individual spirit, your emotional disposition, the way you look at the world, your values? Values are the most important thing. Do you two share the same values? What are the things that make you attractive? Maybe you haven't taken your attractiveness level up. And that's what I keep saying it. The first module in the Good Life Playbook marriage program is about getting you up to speed. Because most people run the streets like, how come this person doesn't like me? And you don't realize that you're not living up to the potential of how awesome you could be. It doesn't mean you're a loser or you're not good. It means you're not living up to as great as you could be. And you need to step your game up. Right? These are the things we're helping people do. All right? So yeah, never in any way am I trying to make it sound easy. But here's what I will tell you. And I can guarantee you this, it's easier than you think. Once you do it, once you commit to doing it. And dude, let me just be clear, because I'm probably several years to over a decade down the road from where you are today. I had this situation in my life too. When I first joined the Army, and I had this girl I was crushing on since I was in high school, and it didn't go well. And I got kind of well, that's not fair. I got kind of pulled around, and I finally, like, my boys were like, dude, you gotta let it go, bro. You're a warrior now. All the ladies are gonna be chasing you. I was like, yeah, you're right. I gotta let this thing go. So I trust me when I tell you I understand how hard emotionally what you're going through is. But you'll look back where I am today and be like, dude, I should have cut that off 2 years before I did, and I would have been fine, because it hurt for like 3 days, maybe. Matter of fact, I don't even think it hurt. I think it hurt for like an hour, and then I went home and played Shenmue on my Dreamcast, and I was fine. Can I tell you? All right. What other questions do you good people of Earth have for me, if any at all? If not, I'm going to go make me a frozen banana protein shake and call that one a win. But I don't want to leave anybody hanging. So, last call for questions. Like I said, be sure to check out the Good Life Playbook Marriage Program, which I'm actually pulling up on my website right now, taking a gander at it. Yeah, they need to fix the CSS on this website, dude. They gotta get that together. That needs to happen. So Jolly Mage says, are you going to make this a video on YouTube? Yeah, this will be on YouTube. Dark Feather says, cool, thanks, bro. No sweat, man. I feel what you're going through. Just be strong. Don't be strong. Be strong. Be brave. You're stronger than you think you are. I told you guys I shot the video for college students that are getting ready to graduate today. And the main part of the message is, no pain in life hurts as bad as you think it's going to. And no joy in life ever feels as good as you think it's going to. You think it's going to hurt worse than it actually is. And in fact, I promise you this. Once you make the call and you stick to it, you'll go through a little bit of pain, and then you'll have some of the greatest relief you've ever had in your life when you let that go. Promise you. I'm Peter Cole. Can you explain the email about the Facebook stuff you sent out? Can I explain the email about the Facebook stuff? So you're talking about the my Social Media Ninja Academy. Tonight on my mailing list, my marketing mailing list, I sent a message and said, you know, I have this program. Many people have told me they want it. The motivation for me doing that, let me just back up, was a lot of people come to me and say, look, dude, I want to be in your program. I just don't have any money. And I live by the mentality that I should give away more than I ever sell. So I have a heart for people that are in that situation. And I think most people are honest. I don't think most people would lie to me about their financial situation. And if they do, fine. That means I take a loss. Either way, they get a win. I'm more about helping other people win than making myself win. So I sent out an email that says, if you're on my mailing list, you're getting this email. If you come to my Facebook group, you click like, and you send me a message that says, hey, I'm here. I just liked it. Please let me into your Social Media Ninja Academy for the YouTube program. I'll let you in. Now, I let people in at the basic level, so they don't have the whole program, but they have a very powerful first piece of the program, which helps with strategy, helps with building a plan, understanding your niche, understanding your target audience, all things that kill YouTube channels. And so I gave it away for free to anybody that was paying attention, which is funny because I get, every once in a while I get messages about people think you're doing people wrong, you shouldn't be charging for this. I'm like, dude, if you paid attention to how much of this I give away for free, you would shut your mouth. And I said, dude, that wasn't sexist. It's always dudes. Women never, in my experience, women don't ever get petty about that kind of stuff. Not that they never do, they just don't with me. All right. How long do you think it takes to know if you love someone truly? Whew, all right. Hold on. Harvey D says the white belt is, yes, it is. Peter Cole says, awesome, thank you. I put a ton of effort into YouTube, but didn't totally understand the email. It's still an option for, it's still an option for me to go there? Yeah. Look, if someone responds to that email in 10 years, if I'm still running the program at that point, and because I'm getting ready to shut some parts of it down, like we have a black belt program that I'm about to shut it off to the public. I haven't announced this yet, so you guys are kind of getting some inside scoop here. That's why it benefits folks to come on live calls, because I talk about things that I don't put out in videos. Because why is anybody going to sit around and listen to me talk about that on a regular video? I'm getting ready to shut my black belt program down to the public, and possibly my blue belt program down to the public. So the people that are in there are good. I'm thinking about shutting those down just because the typical and the reason is totally empathetic. It's not out of frustration or malice. It has to do with the type of audience that I attract because of how I started the channel. The type of audience that I attract aren't the right audience for that program, and so when they see that, they're like, "Oh my God, what is this dude teaching up in here?" And it's like sticker shock. You know what I mean? And they see it and they're like, "There's no," and so it can be very discouraging for someone that's new or a younger person that doesn't have the money for a program like that. I deal with companies in my business life where I'm doing proposals to help them with websites or help them with SEO or help them with YouTube in some cases and social media, things of that nature. And so that's who that program was for, was entrepreneurs and businesses. But my YouTube channel doesn't attract those folks because most of those folks are busy running their businesses. They're not hanging out on YouTube. So I'm getting ready to shut those things down, and I wanted to start getting people into the programs now because eventually they may one day want to upgrade to that. But like I said, I wanted to give away more than what I ask people to give me. So that's what that program was about. And it's an option for you to get in there. So I say all that to say in 10 years if the program still exists, because there are parts of it that I'll probably start to shut off if they grow. Because like the program grew faster than I thought it would in the first year. I thought I'd get a couple of people, like my close friends and folks that knew me real well. But then when we had like 100 people almost show up, I was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. I was really just running this as an experiment. I was like, okay, I need to be careful how I do this because I don't want to let, if 10,000 people show up, I'm not ready to handle that many people, especially with the amount of VIPs we have, because we have a huge percentage of our membership, like somewhere around the realm of 80% of our membership are VIPs, and that's monthly coaching where I'm talking live, not like this, like I'm actually talking to the people. And I didn't want to have 10,000 people I was responsible for. So, those are some of the reasons. So, yeah, if you read the email 10 years from now, the program's still up, you can get in. It's a very long answer to a very basic question, but not to be rude, but you missed my question. Did I, Maggie? And I'm not sure, but you may have skipped over Luis's. I did skip over Luis's because it was a complicated question, but I'm going to come back to that. And Maggie, please do me a favor. Very sorry. Repost your question. I totally didn't see it. And I don't want to leave you hanging. Okay, I don't want to get off the call before we get an answer to your question. Peter Cole says, so eventually, if I eventually get the money to afford those programs like the Black Belt, is there any way I could or will it be completely out of reach? I'm just in college. Yeah, so it's not going to be completely out of reach for anybody. We're just going to build a program such that when someone wants to get in the Black Belt, you won't just be able to come there and sign up. Like there'll be a conversation to make sure that you are a good fit for the program and the program is a good fit for you. So it's being shut off to the public. What I mean by that is they can't just come to my website and buy it, right? Because the other thing I want to avoid is someone who's not ready for that. Like they don't understand it. Like they just want to buy the biggest program because they think that's what's going to help their YouTube channel grow and they have some money. But if they're not ready for the information that's in the Black Belt, then they're going to spend a lot of money and not be able to apply those principles. And I don't want anybody spending money that they don't, like they'll get a ton of great information out of it, but they may not be at a place where they can apply it. So I need to evaluate that. I need to make sure that they're the right people for the program and that the program is right for them so that they don't buy something that doesn't give them 10 times what they paid for it. So yes, one day down the line, we would have the conversation probably over email just to figure out if it was really right for you. Cool. So Peter says he doesn't have the money for mentoring consulting, but don't have the money right now. Yeah. So in our VIP program, I think is like $25 or $26 a month. And that's you get, there's a private VIP group. And then there's a monthly call where we spend hours. Like I go through VIP's channels and just tear it apart and help them build it back together. Like, there's a lot of value that comes into there. But if you can't afford $26 a month, I tried to keep it cheaper than what people spend on coffee. If you're not there, just chill. Like, it's, you know, we have plans to shut that down eventually. But don't worry. Like, if you're in my program, I'm not going to shut that down and be like, oh, nope, sorry. That's more for people from the outside looking in. So don't worry, don't rush. Do not spend money that you do not have. Keep coming around getting the free stuff. And if you did the thing in my email, you should have free access to the white belt, which is going to help you tremendously anyway. All right, so Maggie says, absolutely, and thank you. Anything you can say about the dark triad? Yes, I'm so glad she said this. Yes, yes, yes. How can I apply it to my life to make myself a better person and understand it? So I wonder if this question stems from you saw my video on the dark triad test that I put out last week, I think it was. I think the title of the video was, Are You a Psychopath? And I talked about the dark triad test. So definitely watch that. But to answer your question, one, we're going to do the dark triad test in the Good Life Playbook marriage program. I can't wait to do that test with everybody that's in there. Because I think it's going to be a lot of fun when we all realize that we're crazy. Or some of us are saintly. And when I took the test, they were like, oh my God, he's a saint. I was like, I don't know about all that. I do have some narcissism, if I'm being totally honest. But the way you apply the test is understanding where you score, and then just being consciously aware of, if you're a little high in narcissism, take action, deliberate action, when you're in a situation where you have a tendency to focus on making it better for yourself versus other people. Do the opposite thing, because then you're going to build muscle memory in your brain, right? So I'll use an analogy from military training. One of the reasons why the military trains the way it does is because in a situation where someone's trying to kill you, your prefrontal cortex goes bye-bye. And your primitive part of your brain takes over. So you're in reaction mode when someone's trying to shoot at you, right? So what the military does is they train you over and over. They put you in that situation over and over and over and over and over again and teach you what to do so that when it happens in real life, you go on autopilot, okay? Everything you're doing is instinctual because you've trained it so much. It's the same thing with trying to apply something in life. If you know that you struggle with narcissism, for example, in the dark triad test, then in situations where you feel the narcissism coming on, purposefully fight against it. And it'll be hard at first, and you'll get it wrong, but you keep doing it, and then eventually you build that muscle memory, and then it becomes instinctual. Then it becomes habit. Then you immediately react the way you want to react in that situation. Yeah, so infrequently vile, I think, is probably the norm for regular people. And that's okay. But I 100% respect and love the fact that you want to work on it. I think that's great. But that's how I do it. When you know you have a weakness in a place, like I have no extroverted feeling when it comes to the Myers-Briggs test. So I'm not making decisions based on, ooh, how's the group going to feel about this thing? The group will get over it. Let's go. Sometimes I purposefully don't do that. I'll stop and ask myself, how does it make you feel if I make this decision? That's totally uncharacteristic for me as a person, but I practice it and it becomes instinctual so that now if I know I'm dealing with an extroverted feeler, they feel loved and respected. And now they're more inclined to work with me and everybody's happy. All right? Train it until it gets instinctual. Tommy Keyblade Master says, dark triad, or how to ask your girlfriend if she's psychopath. And then make whoever, and so part of the lesson in the marriage program is going to be when you take this test, get everybody in your life to take it too so you can see who the crazy people are that you should avoid. Now let's go back up here to Luis's question. I wasn't trying to ignore you, Luis. He said, where is that thing at? How long do you think it takes to know if you love someone truly? It doesn't take time to know if you love someone truly. This goes back to what I was saying earlier. Love, write this down. Love is a choice. Most people are so enraptured with falling in love with a person, and what they don't realize is that feeling is infatuation. It is not love. Love is not a feeling, and some people may disagree with me on this, okay? I will accept that. But you're asking me, so I'm going to give you mine. I'm going to give you what has helped me build 15 years of a very happy and what I consider to be a successful marriage. Love is a choice. It is not a feeling. You're not going to be around somebody for a year and then realize, oh, I now love this person. No. Love is patient. It's kind. It puts other people before itself. It's not prideful. It's not arrogant. These are the things that love is. And so you're choosing not to be arrogant. You're choosing not to be selfish. You're choosing to treat this person with dignity, respect. You're choosing to treat this person with honor. You're choosing to put this person that you've told that you love them ahead of your own personal gain. That, my friend, is love. That doesn't take time. That's overnight. So a joke I used to tell people when I'd be in social situations and we'd be talking about wives, significant others, I said, you know what, y'all? And I do it on purpose because I knew there'd be usually a lady would pick up on it and come back at me. I said, you know what, guys? I really, really like my wife. I like her a lot. And then inevitably someone, it's usually a lady, but someone will say, well, don't you mean you love her? No. Love is easy. I get to pick and choose to love somebody. You don't get to pick who you like. Some people just rub you the wrong way. And trying to change that's a waste of time. But when you're talking about love, you're talking about choosing to make someone better than they are without you. That doesn't take time. That takes will and effort. Growing to like someone and to build an affinity for them and to enjoy them, that can take more time. That can take experience. That can take going through something together. Now, what I will say is that going through adversity with someone does strengthen love when you learn how to depend on one another. But it also strengthens affinity. Okay? And you don't want to mix those two things up because they're not the same. Liking someone and being enraptured with them and loving them, this is not by choice. This is what you feel. And what you feel can be affected by choice. If you're making right decisions, this can grow and get bigger and bigger. Love is constant. It's a choice. You either love them or you don't. Hopefully, that's why I didn't answer that question right away, because it's a complicated answer. All right. Maggie says, okay, we got Maggie. That was me. Harvey D says, Bryant, when will the March and April VIP calls be uploaded into? So they're already there. They're already uploaded into my system. They just haven't showed up on y'all's system. I'm hoping to get that done before the end of the weekend. So they are online. They're just not in the system yet. So hopefully we'll have that done before the end of the weekend. You're one of the rare folks that gets through the content very quickly. Most people are like, slow down, you're putting it out too fast, I can't keep up. So our release schedule is usually a bit behind when we record. All right, obsession and love are two different things, yes. Nice talk. Thank you for everything. You are very wise and have a lot of integrity. Night. Thank you so much, Luis. It's a pleasure to have you here. Have a great weekend. Let's see. I'm Peter Cole. You're the man. Thanks for all you do for us. Hey, man. This is so. Just so everybody understands, what's happening tonight is why I get out of bed every day. I live for this stuff. Okay. This isn't about money or marketing or blah 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 blah. This is about what I live my life to do, which is to hopefully, at the end of all of our existences, when we meet each other in heaven, you'll come up to my mansion and be like, "Hey, man, thanks. That was cool." Like, that's the legacy I want to leave behind. Like, my dream is one day I'll get to heaven, and eventually everyone else will get there too, and they'll just be like, dude, man, thanks. That was awesome. Now let's go get the rest of the universe under control. So Maggie Mosby says, thank you for everything. Is there any way you can announce your live streams? So yes, Maggie, a couple of things you'll want to do. Make sure you're on my Facebook page, my personal one. Make sure you like and follow the page because I set it up as a calendar invite on the page. Also, make sure that you're on my mailing list because I send out emails when we're getting ready to start. So I do and I just started doing this. I do the calendar invite usually a couple days before, and then I send the email out right when we're getting ready to start. So you'll get a couple days notice, and then you'll get a notice when we're getting ready to start. So definitely make sure you're subscribed in both places so you can get that. And by mailing list, Make sure it's the mailing list tied to my website, my personal website, not my marketing website. Even though I did send it to my marketing website tonight, it's not something I'll do very often because the two types of content are very different, and I don't want to make my subscribers angry by always hitting them up with this stuff. Okay. Peter Cole says, it's awesome bringing spiritual, secular, and personal knowledge and wisdom together. It's great to niche into one type, but you have them all, and that's really beneficial. Thank you. Trying to take after Solomon. I'm on a mission to be the wisest man in the world, and I have a very long way to go, so in case that sounded like arrogance. What's the personal email? I think I only have the marketing one. So yeah, if you go to my Facebook page, and I think Jolly Mage posted it as well. If you just go to BryantChambers.com, click on the, I think it's called like the Daily Encouragement mailing list. You can join there. Or you can go to my Facebook page, and if you click sign up, that will also take you to my mailing list for the personal site. And I believe if you go to if you're watching this on YouTube, if you look at the top of the page, let me verify that. If you're watching this on YouTube, I think there's a link on my YouTube thing as well. Sky Cobra says, give some advice for ISFJs. What type of advice would you like specifically, Mr. or Mrs. ISFJ? Romance. Okay, let's get it in. Let's talk about some ISFJs. This is a group that I don't touch on very often. So it's kind of a general question. Is there something specific that you'd like to know? Maybe an issue that you've dealt with, something I can speak to specifically? Otherwise, I'm just going to be talking. I will tell you this. You have a very interesting, while you're typing that, you have a very interesting combination of cognitive functions. You lead with introverted sensing. So you're going to lead very much with what you're feeling internally. You're going to process, basically you lead with processing information. And the way you process information is very much tied to how you are feeling in the moment. Are you depressed? Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you angry? Are you hungry? Are you lonely? Okay, so that's going to affect how you, and then you immediately jump into extroverted feeling. So now you move into your decision-making process, which is going to deal with the group. So you've got two things that are not at odds, but they're an interesting combination because your introverted sensing is going to be constantly focused on real, tangible five senses things that are going on inside of you. And then your decision-making process is going to be about the group and have less to do with you. So I think that can make you somewhat well-rounded. In a romantic relationship, though, you're going to be very factual, I imagine, focusing on details and specific. This is what it is, and I don't really want to hear about concepts and frameworks and things that intuitors are usually more comfortable talking about. But other than that, you approaching romance, I'd say it's a tougher one to. So you're going to want someone that I imagine, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I imagine that you would want somebody that is sensitive to how you are feeling in the moment and cares deeply about causes that you care about that affect groups of people. Right? So you'll want to bear that in mind. I imagine you probably need someone that can be very sensitive to how you're feeling in the moment based on your cognitive functions. Sky Cobra says, how should an ISFJ approach a possible partner? Honestly, it's hard to reveal my true feelings to anyone, to be honest. Yeah, so approaching somebody, it's too dependent upon the person for me to give you. I mean, the most generic answer I can give you is learn something about the person you want to approach if you can. I mean, if you're cold calling, like you're just walking up to somebody, start with honesty, authenticity, and pleasantry. What types of things does any human being like to hear? I mean, I can't imagine someone walking up to me and being, hey, ugly. If you walk up to someone and you're genuine and you're authentic and you're kind, I mean, that works with any personality type for the most part. As long as, again, genuine and authentic is key. especially if you're dealing with like an NT type. But those principles, I think, ring true regardless of what your personality type is. You just have to keep in mind that you're very personal, I imagine, because I'm not an ISFJ. But I imagine the way you're feeling in the moment is very personal to you, and you spend a lot of time in deep thought about how you're feeling. And then it can be somewhat hard for you to communicate that until you get into your second function, which is the extroverted feeling when you're making decisions. All right. Thank you, Jolly, for the post. So hopefully it helps you out a little bit. Without a more specific example, maybe a little bit hard for me. I've not spent a lot of time talking about ISFJs. I'm actually glad you're here because you're very rare for what my experience is on the channel. On YouTube, I'm usually almost always dealing with NFs and NTs. Every once in a while, I'll get very rarely do I get an SP or an SJ. So that's cool. Tonight I got an SJ. Cool. And so the other thing, too, to think about as an SJ. So you're going to be, just in general terms, you're going to be process-oriented. You're going to want people to respect the process, respect your space, respect your desire to be timely and accurate. You're going to want people to respect those things. So if you have an aloof SP, that person could be somewhat like, come on, we're supposed to be at this thing at 9:30. Come on. And I'm guessing, and that could be different for different people regardless of the personality type, but I'm kind of grasping at straws here because it's a very general question. Let's see. It's good to discuss all this. I didn't know about that. That's cool. So yeah, I would do a search on ISFJ cognitive functions and read up on you. And I think that will help you a lot more than me making some general guesses about you because I don't know you. You know you at least to a certain degree. You'll be able to read those things and help flesh it out for yourself. What are my opinions about career college major? I say if college is the right move for you, then go do something, one, that inspires you and makes you curious and something you want to do. And two, is going to help you get into the career that you want to be in. Like spend a lot of time figuring out what you actually want to do. As an SJ, especially as a feeler and an SJ, it's a good chance being a teacher works for you. The teaching industry, if it can be called an industry, is dominated by SJs, and it's the second personality type that usually our teachers are NFs. So teaching probably works well for you, counseling, those types of things. Cool. So it looks like we have exhausted the questions. We've still got quite a few folks here, but if there's there's one more thing before I get ready to shut this down. I think it's important to have a specific purpose, reason to get involved in a major decision. I agree. I like the concept about teaching, but it seems exhausting. So yeah, maybe teaching's not your jam. That's just data that I've read about. It doesn't necessarily mean that because you're an SJ, you're wired to be a teacher. It just means that it's something that SJs are typically drawn to. But yeah, I mean, you really got to spend time figuring out what you need to figure out what you're good at too. Like, what are you already good at? Because that can help you. Like, I knew going into college, I had to study something like computer science because I was not going to read about politics and be a political scientist. I'd want to jump off a cliff because that stuff's boring to me. So I studied something that was very hands-on and was very scientific, which suits the NT personality type. It's great to have direct feedback. Yeah, it's great to talk to you too. My experience with comp sci was okay. I was always a lazy student, so I never did really well in school. I grew up most of my life thinking I wasn't really that smart, because I was in a school system that NTs, I'm sure some do well in school. I don't know how many ENTJs do great in school. I know I sucked at school because most of the time I was bored and didn't see a purpose to learning about Archduke Francis Ferdinand or what my state flag was or what the hypotenuse of an isosceles, like none of that stuff mattered to me. I was like, why am I learning this? What is it leading toward? Like, give me the purpose and then teach me the things that get me to where I want to be. By the time I got to college and started doing computer science, it was kind of a mix. I did okay in computer science. Some classes I did really well in. But other classes, like especially not core classes like humanities, I failed at. Statistics I didn't do well in. Like a lot of the biological and zoology, like zoology I almost flunked because it just wasn't interesting to me. So it was a mix. Like I did okay. I did pretty well in math. Physics was hit or miss. I got an A one year, got a C the next year. So school for me is just hard in general because the way schools work. I learned much better being like an apprentice, like in Eastern cultures, where Jesus was a carpenter because John was a carpenter, and he learned the trade by going out and doing, which is why I study computer science, because there's a lot of doing in the learning versus just reading about it and having to take a test. Anyway, with that said, all my good friends, thank you so much for coming out tonight. I am about to go get a protein shake. The Jolly Mage has done a great job of posting the links to all the programs we offer, mailing list that you can get on to find out when our next sessions are going to be. Definitely subscribe to the channel if for whatever reason you're not subscribed already, because like I said, we are dedicated here to at least in some way, shape, or form having a positive impact on your life. All right, God bless you. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. It has been my pleasure to serve you. And I want to tell you that I love you. Sorry, I was reading one more comment. I love you guys. We are stronger than I plan to do these calls every week now. So be on the lookout. Sometimes Friday, maybe sometimes Saturday, maybe even sometimes Sunday, depending on what I have going on business-wise. Okay? I love all of you. Thank you so much. Come get in the Good Life Playbook Marriage Program. I'm telling you, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be worth your time. Certainly going to be worth your resources to come get in with a group of people committed to helping you live happily and healthily. All right? I'll catch you guys on the next one. As always, be on the lookout for the Daily Bravo every Monday through Friday. Probably have some personality type videos coming out this weekend as well. God bless. Catch y'all next time.